Michael Vigil is joining us live now from Albuquerque in New Mexico. He's the former chief of international operations for the Drug Enforcement Administration. So in your experience, do you agree with Trump declaring fentanyl a weapon of mass destruction? And do you think this is about optics or action, perhaps?
This is all about optics. The fentanyl issue is not one of weapons of mass destruction. It's actually a problem of supply and demand, not an act of war. You cannot call everything that kills a large number of people a weapon of mass destruction. We look at it here in the United States, as we have for many decades, as a problem of public health and the criminal justice system. The designation will not be effective and will only serve to militarize the campaign against drugs. We look at the issue of fentanyl drug overdoses, and they have diminished significantly since the Joe Biden presidency, and they started to drop in 2023. So using the weapons of mass destruction rhetoric will complicate diplomatic relationships and anti-narcotics cooperation. And I would also like to say that the Donald Trump strategy of combating fentanyl and other drugs is a strategy that is not coherent. Recently, he pardoned Juan Orlando Hernandez, the former president of Honduras, that was sentenced by a judge in New York to 45 years. And he was accused of bringing into the United States 400 tons of cocaine, right. And Donald Trump
and some people
him.
And those that oppose Trump on that have accused him of hypocrisy, in particular to the case that you're talking about. But Trump is claiming that fentanyl can be weaponized, and I'm just going to quote what he said, because he said concentrated large-scale terror attacks by organized adversaries. Is there any evidence, do you think, in your experience at least, to back that claim?
No, there's not, because again, this is a consumption problem. We're not talking about terrorists. We're not talking about individuals using fentanyl as a weapon. The cartels have no intention of killing addicts here in the United States because they contribute to the money that they make. They're not using it as a weapon. The individuals that purchase it, use it, many times die of drug overdoses because fentanyl is a very powerful drug, but it's also used in hospitals here. So then is Donald Trump going to attack the hospitals because they're using weapons of mass destruction?
I get your point there. So just in terms, again, of the declaration here, do you think that, what do you think actually is Trump gaining from signing it, certainly as an executive order? Is this perhaps a legal thing he's trying to, a legal loophole? Is this to scare Maduro when it comes to Venezuela specifically? What do you think is the ultimate goal here?
The ultimate goal here is political theater. We already have effective laws. We have effective law enforcement organizations that are combating fentanyl. So it's all political theater, just very much like he's blowing up boats in the Pacific and Caribbean that are not going to have any impact whatsoever. So it's all show. But naming fentanyl as a weapon of mass destruction, number one, it doesn't meet the definition, and it's not going to have one iota of effectiveness.
All right. Thank you very much for speaking to us. Michael Vigil there from Albuquerque.
Thank you.
Well, the US president is expanding a travel ban to 5 more countries and imposing new limits on others. From January, citizens of Burkina Faso, Mali, Niger, South Sudan and Syria will be banned from entering the US. They join 12 other countries that have been deemed, quote, high risk. That's including Afghanistan, Sudan and Yemen. The Trump administration has also imposed full restrictions for people with travel documents issued by the Palestinian Authority. Rosalind Jordan has been following the latest developments for us from Washington, D.C. Rosalind, has the Trump administration explained exactly why it's expanding this ban to include the countries that I just mentioned there?
Well, not only does the Trump administration argue that it has the legal right to do so based on a Supreme Court ruling from the president's first term, but he's also put out both a fact sheet and his presidential action explaining exactly why he is doing these additional restrictions. The argument from the Trump administration is that the countries that are being targeted under this expansion of fully restricted or full bans of visas issued to people from an additional 8 countries and a partial ban on another 16 countries, meaning that they could get some sort of waiver to be able to come to the United States on a case-by-case basis. The Trump administration is arguing that these additional 24 countries just don't have the documentation, the verification, even the basic identity document systems necessary to be able to justify issuing passports to their citizens and then making it possible for the U.S. government to vet these people when they are trying to decide who should get a visa to come to the United States. The Trump administration is arguing that this is a matter of national security. However, it is worth pointing out that many of the countries that are being targeted are also being accused of having citizens come to the United States, overstay their visas, whether they're educational visas or work permits or tourist visas, and saying that until these countries basically make it harder for their citizens to get these documents in the first place to attempt to travel to the U.S., the U.S. isn't going to admit their citizens to this country. Now, it is worth pointing out that many of the countries added to this list are from sub-Saharan Africa, even though many of the arguments for trying to deal with what the administration calls terrorism have not been caused by persons who are citizens of those countries. It is also worth pointing out that even though countries such as Syria, with which the U.S. has a vested interest in trying to stand up in the post-Assad era, have been trying to do better, the U.S.'s position is that because of the lengthy civil war in Syria, citizens from that country don't have documents that the U.S. can easily verify. And so those persons are going to be restricted from coming to the U.S. as well. Again, the U.S. is arguing that this is a matter of national security. There hasn't been any public reaction yet to this new decision because it's just come out really in the last 90 minutes or so. But it would be fair to assume that human rights groups and immigration groups are going to say that this is punishing people for situations that they're not responsible for. They're not responsible for how their home governments actually conduct their affairs.
All right, thanks very much. Rosalind Jordan there.
Don't miss out. Get the full picture. Subscribe to Al Jazeera for reliable news, expert insight. Like, share, stay ahead.